Welcome to Buffalo Camp Day Recap. I'm Thad Brown along with Carl Jones. Today this will be the final broadcast of camp because Bills camp at St. John Fisher is done. So this will be the last Buffalo Camp Day Recap to talk about. But we had quite a bit that went on in the last practice at camp. A little surprising. I thought this was going to be an easy kind of quick and get out of town practice. And although the Bills did not have any full pads on today, just helmets, there was quite a bit that happened in this practice. And Carl, at the center of it was Elam, the second-year corner, kind of making some trouble that I think we kind of thought was past him in terms of his NFL career.
Yeah, in the second team period, him and Stephon Diggs got tangled up. Don't know if it was the feet-related holding, but it was kind of scary because Stephon Diggs hopped off the field, threw his helmet, and then he went down on the sideline right behind us and was down for about, I don't know, a couple minutes.
3, 4, 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was down. It was kind of like I could hear a pin drop for a little bit. Like we were kind of nervous for a second. Diggs eventually walked up off of his own power, got to the other sideline, and he ended up being, from what we noticed, okay. He didn't return to practice, but I think he's fine. From what
Agreed. Yeah, he didn't come back, so a tiny bit of concern, but should be okay.
And then either the next play or two plays later, Elam gets a PBU on Trent Sherfield, right in front of Ken Dorsey, who thought it was pass interference, holding the entire way. And Ken Dorsey didn't like it either. He was right in his face, sure with some great colorful language, right in front of him, and it was going back and forth. Jordan Poyer had to get in and separate Elam and Dorsey. So back-to-back plays where maybe Elam was a little bit grabby, handsy, and some of the stuff that we saw coming out of college where, look, he is a physical guy. You want him to use his tools and his traits. That's what you brought him here to do. Having said that, though, there is a right and wrong way to practice, and clearly the best receiver on the Bills and then the OC didn't think that was a proper way to practice.
And it spilled over even beyond that because after Elam was separated and went back to the defensive sideline, whatever Stephon Diggs was upset about, he was so upset about, he ran across the field to the defensive sideline, and I think a few other starting offensive players had to chase him over, and we couldn't see if there was how close they got, but at some point Diggs had to be separated off of the defensive sideline. Not that he was pulled away kicking and screaming, but this was a lengthy disagreement. And the thing that you and I talked about during lunch today, and really if you want to have a long-term takeaway from what essentially was a training camp disagreement, which happens all the time, last year Elam was the guy who got the boxing gloves on because he held too much during practice. And in part because Stephon Diggs last year got upset when Elam, in Diggs' opinion, was too physical during a practice rep. The idea that Elam went right back to square one today, at least for a little bit, and was still the guy that ticks off your number one receiver during practice, like you said, also ticks off the offensive coordinator, it is a little concerning that, at least in this area, there doesn't appear to be that much growth.
You don't want to scale back a player's physicality because that's what makes players good, obviously. I mean, that's regardless of the position. Having said that, though, it is hard to get quality work done when you are penalizing and hindering the other. If Stephon Diggs just got clamped up on a route and just wasn't getting open, he can recognize his game and he'll respect that. But when he feels as if that you are hindering him by, I don't want to say cheating, but
breaking the rules
a little bit, then everyone's
or being illegal, probably the best way to put it.
Now they feel like no one's getting better in that regard. Like, you're not getting any better because you're not going to be able to do that on Sunday. And then I'm not getting better because I'm not getting the look from my quarterback. I'm not being at the exact time that I'm supposed to be. My quarterback doesn't know if I would have been open or not because you held me. So everyone involved is like, look, just play the right way, practice the right way so we can all get better here. I mean, I know as a defensive back myself, obviously you don't want to hold just because we're prideful. But also, though, you don't know where you are in terms of reps and how you're getting better if you're cheating a rep every single time.
And not only that, it's not about getting better, the football point of view, the penalty point of view. It's a safety thing. I'm sure
he got hurt.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs after that rep felt like whatever Elam did was over the line, and it got him hurt for an instant. But it's a reminder that it only takes one lazy, one lackadaisical, one incorrect rep to end a guy's season and maybe, theoretically a career at this point. So, those things all factor in, and going back to exactly the way you put it, there is a right and a wrong way to practice, and Elam, at least for today, looked like he hasn't learned what the right way to practice is yet.
No, I will give him credit, though. Later on in that practice, he didn't really back down. It wasn't like he was acting passive at any point. He was still talking and being engaged in practice. But can we just make sure that we funnel that into the correct way to be aggressive? Because I love aggressive players, but make sure we do it within the lines and within the rule book.
And maybe there is some growth there, the ability not to, shrink from a situation where you were in the wrong, whether he believes it or not. But he came back out, and you were right, had, maybe not great, but certainly not negative reps after that. All right, the other big story from today, and there isn't a whole lot of information on this, but Terrell Bernard, who's in the mix to be one of the starting middle linebackers potentially, left essentially after, I don't think he ever got the team drills. It was very early in practice. According to Alex Brasky from the Batavia Daily News, he saw Bernard leave with a trainer. He went into, there's a white tent right over there where Bernard went in. He goes in with the trainer comes out, and no one ever sees Bernard again the rest of practice. So no idea what the injury is, what the problem is. It may not even be an injury, but regardless, Terrell Bernard missed just about all of practice on Thursday. And Carl, when it comes to that race to be the number one middle linebacker, it is neck and neck, I think, at least. I think most people would think that. And, if Bernard's not able to play preseason time, or if he misses more time than that, it's not fair, but it will hurt him getting that number one job.
And he's the player more so than Dotson who needs the game reps.
Mm-hmm.
Like this upcoming Saturday and then the rest of the preseason games, it would have benefited Bernard much more than Dotson. Dotson has at least played in games at Mike linebacker, at backer, and he's gotten reps so that the team has a sense of what he'll look like in a game setting. Outside of last year where he was just running around with his head cut off.
And even then, when Bernard played last year, he played for Milano, not in the middle.
Exactly. So they would have loved to see him get live game reps because they haven't gone live here in practice too. They haven't tackled to the ground too often. It's a totally different ball game when that happens. So as a coaching staff, you're not encouraged to see that. Hopefully it's nothing long term, but definitely it will hurt him for sure.
Anyway, like we said, no idea the severity, the injury, what it means for Saturday. It's all really just a question mark at this point with Bernard. All right, Sean McDermott spoke at the end of camp, his traditional end of camp press conference, not a surprise there. The one main takeaway in terms of who plays on Saturday, Josh Allen will not play, Stephon Diggs will not play. McDermott said a couple other starters also would not play. He wouldn't say who, but it seems like before we get into who will play, if it's only a couple other starters, I think you and I both agree at the top of that list would be Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White. I think those three guys you probably can, I don't want to say take it to the bank, but I'd say pretty likely they don't play. After that, I think Matt Milano would likely sit out, maybe Daquan Jones, maybe Gabe Davis. But that might be the extent of it. I think we see the full offensive line because you want to get reps with Mitch Morse next to the two new guards and the other guard competition going on. I think we see everybody at corner other than Trey White who's in that battle. So I think we're going to see a decent amount of starters, at least for a quarter on Saturday.
Right when he said that, I thought of the two safeties. I'm like, they barely practice themselves. Like
yeah.
they're barely out here as it is. So I don't imagine we'll see them this week, probably the second or third game, depending on how that works out. But, man, I mean, what a great opportunity for these guys who are in position battles to be around likewise players of talent. Because, if you're a right guard in that position battle, do you really want to be – if you're Bates and Torrance, it helps out a ton when it's Mitch Morse next to you and Spencer Brown. Helps out with the continuity and getting a good look. Same thing when it goes for the cornerback battle. If Trey White does sit out, we don't know at this moment. But it helps out a ton when you're Kyer Elam, Christian Benford, and Dane Jackson that the pass rush home are starters and not guys who won't play presumably on Sunday. So from that perspective, I'm sure the guys who are competing for jobs are very ecstatic that some guys who are starters themselves are going to play.
Yeah, to reiterate, we really don't know who's going to play, who's not going to play. Sean McDermott could change his mind for sure between now and then, but it sounded like he said, most starters will play about a quarter. By the way, the Colts did announce that Anthony Richardson, the 4th overall pick in the draft, and their presumptive soon-to-be franchise quarterback will start too. So, for a first preseason game, it's going to be a whole lot of fun on Saturday. There are going to be some guys playing.
Anthony Richardson likes to run around too. I can't wait for that one. I can't wait.
Sean McDermott, by the way, told a story today. With camp wrapping up, he got a question about anything fun or unusual happened behind the scenes, and he said on Monday night before the Bills' off day, on Tuesday, he told the guys during walkthroughs, all right, guys, instead of having tomorrow off, we're all going to come in tomorrow, we're going to meet for a walkthrough, and then we're all going to Pittsford Dairy together. And McDermott said, look, we love Pittsford Dairy. He's like, I've been there a couple times, and obviously Pittsford Dairy, we in Rochester are very proud of the Pittsford Dairy reputation. The Bills buy in. McDermott said, though, you should have seen the look on the guys' faces because although they love Pittsford Dairy, they value their off time too. So for Sean McDermott to go practical joke route, that's not normally his style. It was kind of fascinating to see that he played that up and then didn't mind sharing it with us. Like, it wasn't like he wanted to bring it up. We asked him a question. So, Sean McDermott is not known for his levity, but he does have moments, and that was definitely one today.
We've all been there before, though. when you got that scheduled off day, I don't care what you're putting in front of me and things to do. If I got my off time,
yes,
I'm not coming in. I'm sorry. I love y'all here at Newsday, but when I'm off, I'm off, man. Don't bother me. Yeah, I don't care if it's Pittsburgh Dairy or not. Although they do got good ice cream.
Yeah. I mean, like if you're gonna be forced to come into work, that's a good work day.
If y'all bringing in Pittsburgh Dairy on my off day, I'll be there.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
I know you'll be there. All right. Final day of Buffalo Camp Day Recap. That means our final day of turkey burgers. We're going to have the final standings in a minute, but first, our turkey burgers for today. I'm going to go first. Tim Settle, turkey burger today. In first team red zone drill, or it was a first team, I think, drive the field drill. Either way, by the time this play happened, the Bills offense was in the red zone. Settle dropped. Now look, the Bills do drop ends from time to time in coverage. It's a natural part of trying to trick an offense. You bring a linebacker, drop an end, you can still have 7 in coverage even though a linebacker's coming. Very rarely do they drop tackles. You know, you don't see Jordan Phillips or Daquan Jones or Ed Oliver in coverage all that often. Well, today Tim Settle was in coverage, and let me tell you, he did a great job. Got in the passing lane, read Josh Allen's eyes, got a hand on the ball. It was a super play. Except when it bounced off his hand, it landed right in Dalton Kincaid's breadbasket for a touchdown. And it turns into another highlight for the rookie, even though he didn't do anything but, catch a soft one. Now, to Settle's credit, the very next play with the second team, he did knock down a ball from Kyle Allen. So back-to-back PBUs from your defensive tackle, one of them in legit pass coverage. Turkey burger for Tim Settle today.
Love seeing the big fellas lead the team with PBUs today. Love to see
And he did really do that, yeah.
For me, we've talked about this guy over the past week or so. Kyle Allen gets a turkey burger from me. He hasn't had the greatest training camp. He's, Sean McDermott talked about getting used to the system. Allen talked about that as well. Kyle Allen, that is, just getting used to the mental reps of the system. But today, I thought he had a really good rep down here on the goal line right behind me, where he literally went right to left in terms of his progression. Didn't panic, rolled out to his left, saw the linebackers trying to come get him at the last second, flicked it up to a backup tight end. Those are the type of plays that you would like to see out of your backup quarterback, not panic. I know he's still in the red jersey, so he probably knew he wasn't going to get his head taken off. But nonetheless, didn't throw out of bounds, didn't throw an interception. It was a nice play out of him.
I agree. And probably his best play at camp. It really looked composed and athletic. And look, if you can get a little bit of that out of your backup quarterback, that's a win for the Bills. Turkey burger today for defensive back Alex Austin, the rookie draft pick. We haven't talked about him a whole lot. The 7th rounder, I believe. Either way, it's low enough in the draft order that it's been borderline irrelevant. Look, he has not had a great camp. This is a guy that probably is destined for the practice squad. I did say that about Christian Benford last year, and then he immediately rose to the occasion. Regardless, today Austin had 2 or 3 really good reps against Tyrell Shavers, who I think has been the best down the depth chart receiver in camp. Really strong, stayed with him all the way, and Shavers is a big, fast guy. So Austin today in team drills looked very, very good, so good way to finish for the rookie.
For me, a little cheesy, Bills Mafia. I got to give them a turkey burger. Came to mind today when it was raining out and I did not want to be here. I had my rain poncho ready to go. But Bills Mafia was here. I didn't see a lot of ponchos out of them, so I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be the one guy who got a rain poncho on. But not awesome, just good to be a part of it, so they deserve a turkey burger.
Last turkey burger of camp for any of us, Gabe Davis, who had another really strong practice today. One-on-one drills went up against Kyer Elam, and really Elam, probably would have gotten a turkey burger today as well were it not for the messy, apparently caused later in practice. But Davis had 2 good routes. The first one he got away from Elam. Elam kind of closed late, but Davis still made a catch in a little bit of traffic. And then with Elam kind of on his back, a short 5-yard in, Gabe another tough catch. He's had, I'd say it's arguable. He might have had the best camp of anybody here relative to expectations. Dalton Kincaid in that mix as well. He finishes on a high note. So I left Gabe Davis for the end because now it's time for our final turkey burger tote board. And the number 1 player in camp with 4 turkey burgers out of 11 practices is Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is the only guy who got 4. Now, keep in mind with our rules with this, it was you could either have one nice play or have a good practice. Really, if there's any reason we could, decide we wanted to give someone a turkey burger, Josh Allen got graded on a little bit of a curve because obviously he had at least one good play every practice. So he could have gone 11 for 11. He had to really stand out. So he kind of pushed the quarterback aside, but Josh Allen, I think, still had 3, right? Carl Jones now has the rest of the, not the honorable mentions, but after Gabe Davis had 4, here are the guys who had 3.
So Taron Johnson, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Christian Benford, and Dane Jackson, which kind of lines up with what we've seen all camp throughout with all those players. Diggs and Allen are a little bit of a curve. I'm sorry.
Again, Diggs probably could have gotten a bigger
I'm not
most
gonna lie, that
practices,
entire
too.
first week, Diggs was just like on a different planet of just unguardable. So probably deserved one for each day, but nonetheless.
Among the mere mortals, Gabe Davis won.
Yes,
yeah,
100%.
Right.
But yeah, Gabe definitely had a fine camp, and I thought, especially, we talked about this off camera. I think the last week, I think he's really been consistent. I think that's the thing that not just us, but everyone wants to see, just consistency out of him. When you've seen the high plays, it's just that when the lows, the drops, some of the miscommunication things are littered in there a little bit, can we just always be up here? I think that's what we're looking forward to. And this week, he was, for the most part, up there.
Agreed. The first 2 weeks of Gabe Davis practice would be 2 or 3 really nice plays, and then a blatant, brutal, smack your head kind of drop. This last week has not been that. He's been good practice in and practice out. I hope you think we have been too. That will wrap up our Buffalo Camp Day recap coverage for this year. Of course, assuming camp is back at Fisher next season, we will do it all over again next season. So for Carl Jones and AJ Feldman, I'm Thad Brown. Thanks for watching Buffalo Camp Day Recap on RochesterFirst.com. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcasts. We will continue with all these broadcasts. We'll change it to Buffalo Game Day Recap, probably starting on Saturday with the preseason game. But Carl and I will be back with Let's Talk Ball this year, and there will be a whole lot of Bills content for you to digest in all of those spots. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you pretty soon.